What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. Hope you guys are doing well. Got a little something to talk about in this video here. And if you're somebody who's in the know, if you're somebody that pays attention to the latest and greatest on the internet and in the news world, you guys may already know that there's probably not much of a real story here, but I do want to take the time to talk about this, and I'll explain why before this video ends. But yeah, I want to talk a little bit about a story that came out earlier today talking about the Seattle Seahawks and the follow-up information we've gotten since this story came out. So this video is sponsored by PrizePicks. More on them a little bit later. But first of all, if you didn't catch the stream that I did with Brandon of the Hawks Nest, we wrapped it up about half an hour ago or something like that. Went well. We talked about the entire draft class. Day 3 was obviously the new stuff, but we talked about all the picks, and we went a little bit deep on it. So definitely check that show out. We had a lot of fun, did a lot of good stuff. So definitely give that a watch if you missed it live. Okay, so one thing that happened earlier today that caught a lot of people's attention was this tweet and story from Front Office Sports. So the story alleged that two very high-profile, wealthy, and powerful people were among the names considering bidding on the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks, of course, were put up for sale in February, 10 days after the team won the Super Bowl, and we don't yet have a ton of traction on who the new owner is going to be. I think the odds-on favorite has generally been Steve Ballmer, but there's still a lot of stuff we don't know, and there's still a lot of room for somebody else to emerge as the ultimate buyer. So Front Office Sports released this, and obviously that was pretty interesting. It got some people talking. I think most people didn't really like the idea, but it was something that made some degree of sense on some level. And then a little bit later, we got this tweet from Dylan Byers. Don't know a lot about Dylan personally, but he passed this along, and it seems like this counter or rebuttal or correction or whatever you want to call it is kind of being corroborated around Zuckerberg and Cook are not considering bids for the Seahawks, per sources close to both men. Now, obviously, they could be just trying to disguise their interest if they are interested. And I guess it's possible they're just messing around because they don't want to give away how much they want to own the team. But it seems like this is not a real thing. And this is kind of why I'm making this video, to talk about this element of it, because this is one of the problems in modern day. Very frequently, a news story like this will come out, and a lot of people will see it. Millions of people will see this, right? Millions of people will see this tweet or see this news story, see it get reposted somewhere. This is going to spread like wildfire and get people talking. But of those millions of people that see this, only a subsection of them will see this. And this is something that you see all the time in news these days. The story, which is hyperbolic, exaggerated, or just plain false, gets a ton of attention, and then the retraction or correction gets a fraction of that foothold. So you still end up with a lot of people thinking something that isn't true. So I wanted to present that in this video. That's the main reason why I'm making it, just to kind of set up the full story here. If you like sports, the best way to make them better and more exciting is using PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. PrizePicks, all you got to do is pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build lineups with a few taps. It's the daily fantasy stuff, but it's made super easy over there. Whatever sport you're into, give it a shot. And right now, PrizePicks is hooking up users with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. All you have to do is use promo code HMA. I've had a great time on PrizePicks so far. It makes this daily fantasy thing very easy, and it makes watching the games way more exciting. Be sure to check out the social feeds feature so you can share lineups with your friends and tail partners or even fade their picks. Right now, PrizePicks is offering odds on the NFL draft. You have who's going to go where, what each team is going to do, how many of each position is going to go in each round, and so on and so on. Get on over to PrizePicks. Take advantage of that. So, download Prize Picks today, America's #1 sports app, and remember to use the promo code HMA. And remember, always gamble responsibly. So, I think it's important to make sure that the correction or rebuttal, or at least you could call it the counter, because again, I don't want to completely accept that Dylan Byers is completely in the right here and front office sports is completely in the wrong here. One thing I would say, though, is that Tim Cook has, according to what I've seen, a net worth of about $2.9 billion. The Seahawks are probably going to be sold for about 10 billion. So Tim Cook is going to need to come up with some partners, significant partners, if he wants to own the Seahawks. Given his net worth, and I know that he's a very powerful and relevant person, and people know about him, but he's not necessarily one of the super duper wealthy people in the world. So with a net worth of less than $3 billion, if he became an owner of the Seahawks, it would be as a minority owner, probably a significant minority, and there would have to be somebody who's a bigger shot than him. Now, Zuckerberg could afford it, obviously, so that's a little different, but still, would he want it? I don't know a lot about Zuckerberg. I don't get the sense that he really cares that much about sports, at least not football. Maybe that's not true. I'm not going to pretend that I know the man. But I will say that it doesn't feel like much of a it doesn't feel like a fit. Like Steve Ballmer feels like a fit. Even if it ends up not being Steve Ballmer, that makes sense. Gabe Newell, some people have thrown that one out there, and that one also feels a little bit pie in the sky, but that would make some sense. There are people who could buy the Seahawks that would make some sense. Zuckerberg, I don't know about that. Zuckerberg maybe makes sense just in the sense that he has the money to afford the whole team many, many, many times over. I just don't know if that's something that's interesting to him. Like I talked about this with Elon Musk. I don't get the sense that Elon Musk cares about American sports. So I just don't know if that's on the table. And also I think that there's a lot of Seahawks fans that were resistant to the idea of Zuckerberg owning the Seahawks, just like they would be resistant about some other guys potentially owning the Seahawks. And I want to be clear here. I'm not here to try to play moral police with whoever ends up owning the Seahawks. I just want it to be somebody that will have respect for the team, that will be willing to spend the money, and will be willing to care whether or not the team is good. Just like Jody Allen did. Jody Allen cared whether or not the team was doing good, and he's been rewarded with that by winning a Super Bowl right before putting the team up for sale. So that's really what I care about. If it ends up being a guy that I find to be a little bit of a weirdo or somebody that I don't like very much personally, I'll live with it. I just want them to be an effective owner. But I don't think this is it. Like I said, the Tim Cook thing seems completely unfathomable. I think that he would need to like increase his net worth by an order of magnitude to even consider it. And that's not going to happen overnight, I don't think. All right. So just wanted to go ahead and talk about that a little bit just to kind of spread the fact that this seems like it's not true. Because again, this story is going to blow up. This one, maybe not so much. And look, if you want to argue that this rebuttal has no more credibility than the original story, that's fine. But I'm going to say it again. It feels like this is just a couple of high profile rich guy names. It doesn't feel like it was actually thought out as to, oh, these guys would love to own the Seahawks because of X, Y, and Z. Again, Tim Cook, I think that one's just completely forget about it. All right, so I'm gonna probably do at least one more video later today. We'll see what goes on. I know that they're doing the rookie press conference. Jadarian Price is doing his press conference right now. Maybe we'll get something there, but we'll see what happens. Go check out the VOD on the stream I did with Brandon. And let me know what you guys think about all this. If anything, I understand that at the end of the day, there's probably no actual story here, but still kind of hoping it's Steve Ballmer, I guess, because that seems to be the one that makes the most sense. All right, go Hawks. See you guys soon.